Okay, that's good. Today I'm going to talk about kind of what I didn't finish talking about the other day, and that was hip hop in sci-fi, and hip hop in horror, how that all works, why I call myself hip hop science fiction writer, why I call myself a hip hop horror filmmaker, and all that other stuff. Well, one, I call myself hip hop. It kind of started around the same time as KRS-One saying he was hip hop in the early 2006, 2005. Really kind of the emergence of like, what do you call it? This new school of hip hop, where we had to call ourselves old school, we had to call ourselves true school, throwback. When all that started to emerge, sort of a response to people saying that you aren't hip hop or that's not hip hop, things of that nature, right? All that is part of it. But I guess the bigger part is, what is hip hop? What do I define hip hop as? Because I think that confuses a lot of people in terms of what hip hop is. We get a lot of terms confused. I don't know to get started on that. So one of the first things we used to do when we used to do ciphers, and that is just a circle of thinking minds where we would all build on a certain topic, right? In a cipher, you would say, yo, how do you see this? How do you see that? And it meant, how do you understand? How do you define? What does this mean to you? All that stuff. So how do I see hip-hop? All right? That's how I start this off. I see hip-hop as in one definition, because depending on how you ask me, I may have a different way to describe it. So one of my definitions is hip-hop is a organic, therapeutic, gosh, I forgot how I said, organic, therapeutic, community service program, something like that, right? Why do I define it as that, right? And of course, it manifests itself as a subculture of the American culture, okay? Now, we know what a subculture is, we know sort of what American culture is, but let me go back to this this organic therapeutic system. Well, when dealing with therapy, right, which I'm now more familiar with than I was in 2005, therapy is something that people use to deal with stress and trauma. Now, physical therapy, that's when you're dealing with physical stress and trauma to your body after an accident, you have to recover. But regular therapy, psychological therapy, mental therapy, is when you deal with a traumatic incident that has made that you're stressing over, right? And so if you look at the time that hip hop was born, in the late 60s, early 70s, okay? Because I'm not talking about the day that it was started. I'm talking about the environment, what do you call it? Not only the context, right? Not only the environment, the context, the psychological context. The environment was the Bronx, New York City, and it was poverty, right? People's pissing on the walls like they just don't care. Drugs, transition from heroin to cocaine and joblessness, right? But the context was they were blaming the government for it. The context was they didn't see a way out of it. The context was just like straight problems, right? And so the therapy for that type of situation And the therapy for a lot of mental situations is art. They'll say, you know what, draw it out. You know, little kids is dealing with terminal illnesses. They'll say, make your disease a monster and then fight it, beat it up. So they'll use art, right? So that became our artistic expression. You didn't feel like the buildings were yours. It felt like, you were in a jail. Wasn't your home. So what did you do? You wrote on the buildings. You made them yours. You made it your home. You put your name on it. Things that we were doing subconsciously spoke to us as therapy. Same thing with poetry. Just all of the arts. That became our rap. Write out your poems. Well, we're communal people. So we weren't writing in a journal. We were saying them to each other. You know what I'm saying? We was telling each other our problems. That's what Melly Mel was doing. That's what Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force were doing. That's what Sugar Hill Gang was doing. You ever went over a friend's house to eat and the chicken tastes like wood? Well, why did the chicken taste like wood? Shit, they was probably eating fried bologna. They probably was dealing with other things that, he didn't really want to put in the song. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have a whole food option. It wasn't even the term organic desert, food desert. They didn't have none of that. This is all they had. So, of course, it was something they wanted to joke about. And I'm not saying everybody didn't know how to cook. Of course not. But I'm going to tell you right now, within poverty settings, people eat some horrible food in, not everybody, in drug environments, not drug youth, just the neighborhood. I'm talking about in the homes where, you might have had an alcoholic, real bad alcoholic parent or a real bad crack parent or somebody on heroin. They ain't cooking the best meals. So all of that was the setting for the birth of hip-hop, right? And then we know what dancing does. We know what music does. So you got dance, music, poetry, art, all of that coming through together under our own umbrella. Now, take out the whole element of them not having music in the schools. That's one thing, because not having music in the schools, they didn't have instruments in a lot of schools and they didn't make hip-hop. It was a lot of other things going on. Then you had the other context you throw in there. You had diverse cultures. Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash. All these early guys is from the Caribbean. I even think Africa Bambaataa is from the Caribbean, right? But you had these guys coming from Caribbean islands, Jamaica, where they had outside dances. It's a Caribbean environment. They didn't dance inside buildings. You danced outside because you didn't have to do everything indoors. It wasn't a harsh winter like you had in New York. So in the summer, he was like, yo, celebrate. It's warm. He came out, brought the music, and they did the dancing, just like in the TV show with the Get Down. So you had all of that. But this didn't really make the people as Caribbean as they needed to be. They had the Latino Caribbeans represented, but not the English-speaking Caribbeans represented. So now, that's what hip-hop is. So that's why I see it as that therapeutic thing. So why do I call myself hip-hop horror, hip-hop science fiction? How in the hell can horror be therapeutic? Ooh, you reaching, Jeff. Yeah, well, I'm always going to be reaching because everybody's saying the same damn thing isn't called progress. So somebody's got to say something or think of something that other people haven't thought of in a direction that's forward. So that's why I call myself a sci-fi writer or a hip-hop sci-fi writer. Hip-hop, in addition to being therapeutic and birthed in a multicultural environment, also maintained its multicultural essence. We took the morals from Kung Fu movies and say, yo, there's a fair fight, so let's give them a one-on-one fair battle, right? Opportunity to retaliate, tournament style, greeting each other with bows. That's what they did when they did the break dances, when they used to do the up rock, all of that. That's kung fu movies, right? We didn't know necessarily what they did in Africa. We just had it in our DNA, so it came out of us. The moves that we did, we never saw nobody do those leg swings, those back spins, those things that we do in breakdance that is directly mimicking what they did in Africa is just by DNA happenstance, because we didn't have the internet back in the 70s. So, and a lot of those early breakdance moves evolved. I remember early breakdance moves. Whoa, it wasn't backspin, wasn't the first breakdance move. It was a lot of leg work, a lot of just, dancing in circles. It was cool, but it wasn't always what you had now. And I remember trying to learn those too. Shout out to my boy Sean Lund. Anyway, that's that element of hip hop coming out of a multicultural environment is kind of what I like to bring to my books, right? I like to bring, and science fiction does that, because hip hop and sci-fi have a different connection outside of me and me doing it. Africa Bambaataa, and I'll keep saying his name, and I know he's got some pedophilia charges allegedly. I'll say allegedly, because there's probably some that are proven and still more that are alleged. So I'll say that. But I know he's got those charges, and I know I got to keep saying his name because he played a central role, and I'll say more so Zulu Nation, okay? But Zulu Nation really played a pivotal role. And I say that they have a science fiction connection because they do. If you go on Universal Zulu Nation's website, they are believers in alien visitation. They are believers in aliens on other life, on other planets, celestial beings. That's what they call themselves, Universal Zulu Nation. It's not just Zulu in South Africa, it's the Universal Zulu in the world. They believe there's a celestial connection to human life in South Africa. Not only that, that it's connected throughout the universe. That's why kind of their first record was Planet Rock, okay? So they singing about life in the celestial universe from the very beginning. Now, that's them. My connection is, that I write multicultural stories. Gender neutral, whatever you want to call it, LBGT friendly, we never, hip hop may have homophobic people in it, may have homophobic language in a lot of their words. And I'm not even going to say homophobic, just different opinions of homosexuality, because I don't think people were scared of homosexuals, but they may have used the F word. And that F word is derogatory. But we use the N word, we use the B word. We use a lot of derogatory language because hurt people hurt people. And a lot of people that are in hip hop, and I'm not making an excuse for it, I'm just explaining where it comes from. Because this is, again, people's working out their problems. They don't give a damn about anybody. When you ain't got food on your plate, you ain't got clothes on your back, you may not even have a home. KRS-One is a prime example of that. Dude was homeless. Now, maybe he had a home to go to, but for that period of time, he was homeless. You understand? It's kind of like how you need to understand A$AP Rocky. A$AP Rocky, or Rakim was his real name. He was in a group home. A homeless shelter. You understand what I'm saying? That's a lonely ass place, okay? Very lonely. I've done community service in homeless shelters. You don't want to be there. It's the bottom of society. You understand? Society is now taking care of you, and they're not doing the best job. So when your parents are society and they ain't taking a good job of you, then you are mad at all society. Black, white, yellow, you name it. Because society, you mad at God. F the world. You understand? So of course they're going to use offensive language to everybody. F everybody. You understand? Not just the police, F everybody. and then they learn from there. They build up. They build themselves back up. That's what's admirable about hip hop, is that they didn't turn into Hitlers, right? Now, mind you, some of them may have had that precious lifestyle that was just as bad as Hitler's, because Hitler had a horrible life, and I'm not justifying his actions either. I'm just saying that, you know, the circumstances that might have led to contributing to Hitler's hate and evil and anger and rage, all of that stuff that he manifested, is not something that is what hip hop allows their members to purge themselves of. So if Hitler would have had some damn hip hop in the 40s or the 20s in Germany, he might not have grown up to be so hateful, okay? But because hip hop lets you get that off your chest, and you confront these guys, just, you know, these people using these N-words, and sometimes they turn around, you talk to them about homosexuality, sometimes they'll stop using the F word. They ain't really running around shooting and killing no gay people. It's just that they got a lot of problems on their chest. You know, they running around killing each other. You heard Tupac and Juice, I don't love me. So the moment I feel like I'm ready to go, I'm taking you out too, because you part of me. You my boy. We about to go. That's crazy. And that was Juice. That was Tupac. A fictional movie, but probably original thoughts, you know, or authentic thoughts from somebody. So anyway, I write stories that are pushing the envelope in the conversation. I like hip hop because it's multicultural. It's global. That's what I also like about hip hop. I'm trying to wind this down, but there's more stuff that comes to my head. When we talk about prophecy, all right, I'm gonna close on this prophetic. And this is why I'm gonna lose people, because I would lose myself, and I don't even know how to explain it. But you know, we always talk about the Alpha and Omega, right? In the beginning, so shall it be. In the end, the first man is going to be the last man. If there was a reconstitution of the unification of humanity, right? If we started from one group and we diversed ourselves into Arabs, Chinese, Europeans, South Americans, Aborigines, Australians, and you name it, right? Native Americans, into all these different African cultures, then hip hop coming into a place kind of opposite Africa, right? In many directions, but reconstitutes itself into a multicultural culture, and it's fast-paced global takeover. You know, now when you talk about how Arab culture and Arabic names, Islam and Christianity took over the world, they did it with bloodshed, definite bloodshed. Christianity boasts about, you know, the bloodshed. But now we're looking at hip hop. We got every culture is doing some pop lock. They're doing some rapping. They love the beats. They love the music that we got, and they have something similar. There wasn't a gun held to any of these cultures' heads that said, yo, like this or die. Hip hop is taking over the world just on basic connection. Why do people that can't understand it bob their heads to it? Because they connect to it. There's something primal about it. Why do I call myself hip hop horror, right? Yeah, I'm black. That's another thing you can call me. I also call myself black sci-fi because hip hop doesn't cleanse me of my culture. What it does is it brings my culture to a platform where it can be appreciated universally, so everybody can appreciate it. And so for me, as a black horror person who also is hip hop horror, it gives my horror stories an appeal that maybe a black sci-fi or horror writer wouldn't, or maybe another one wouldn't. I don't know, but I give you an example. How does that work? Well, damn it, I'm running out of time. And I did the celestial part good, so I don't even think people's going to disagree with that. But give you an example, my book, Rashida the Zombie Killer, which is my first attempt to really be hip-hop horror and actually hip-hop sci-fi, kind of all in one. I just wanted to do a hip-hop story because people always ask me, yo, Jeff, do your books, you hip-hop, do you have break dancers, you got DJs, and I'm like, is it rappers killing each other? I'm like, all right, now you're pushing it and you're about to become offensive. But in this story, I took the primary elements of what hip-hoppers really wanted to do. When you're coming out of those impoverished environments, your community didn't care about you, the first thing you do is when you get out, you do something that cares about the community. So many times these rappers do community events. Same thing with the basketball players, same thing, anybody, comedians. You come out of the hood, many times you go back to the hood and you do something that improves the hood, right? So in my book, this beat producer is upset with the violence, in the communities. And there's a couple of people that are, right? And he hears of this musical instrument from ancient Egypt that calms people down. They just discovered it. So he's like, oh shoot, if I can get this musical instrument and put it in a hip-hop beat, which is what all hip-hop beat producers do. They look for new sounds, new shit to put up in their beats and put up in their songs. They want to be the first one. I'm a DJ. I started as a DJ at 11 years old. Trust me, I dug through the crates, not to find songs that everybody else was playing, to find original songs that I can blend with my beats, right? So that's what I did. This is what he's doing for the purpose of bringing people together and calming down the environment. And it just so happens that the same thing that he can use to calm people down can also be used to enrage people and turn them into enraged-filled zombies. So that is kind of the story, and that's what makes it hip hop in the sense there's a DJ beat producer at the central part of the story, but I got a nightclub scene and other stuff, but it's still zombies, regular zombies. They run in, you shoot them in the head, you got to kill them. But that's it. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out to you. I think I covered a lot of space. I don't know if I covered everything, but 22 minutes, well, it'll be 23 minutes. Anyway, thank you very much. Have a nice day. I hope you enjoyed this.